Welcome to MPUNGWE-PUNGWE YouTube channel. Subscribe for you to enjoy more of our videos anytime we upload.
Notified in the fact that I gave them advice, which was correct, to attend to the prudential issues first. Thank you.
Thank you, AG. Honourable members, I see Sizamuiwala. I see Mulanje Southeast. Mulanje Southeast, take to the floor. There are many times when we've recognized and started from the last. So this is not an abnormal occurrence. Yeah? Unless if Mulanje Southeast is yielding to Sizamuiwala. Sizamuiwala, take to the floor.
Is it because of his chair?
If you switch on the mic before being recognized, I will be left with no option to give you 1 of 5. Let us restrict ourselves to the issues at hand and ensure that we remain focused and serious to these deliberations. Lilongwe Chirobe, I think you've taken note of that. Sizamuiwala, kindly take to the floor.
Thank you, Chair, for according the people of Sizamuiwala an opportunity to ask 3 questions. The first one is, are you aware that the fund is guided by several rules other than the trust deed? Specifically in this case, I'm interested in the investment policy statement, which prohibits any investment taking place or this type of transaction taking place without the presence of a fund manager. So in this case, we do not have a fund manager. I want to know why the controlling officer, in his wisdom, did not pick this point up. Second question, as part of your investigation, you submitted to have met the board members for questioning. Which board members did you meet, and are you able to actually name them? I'm saying this because as a committee, Pac was able to hear from all the board members, and in that we have learned that there are some contrasting statements that are coming from the board members. For instance, the board chair and the acting principal officer, they were telling the committee that the meeting of the 17th of January 2024 did not happen, whereas other board members told us that this meeting did happen. So as the AG, did he take any effort into verifying such matters? Third and final question, the statement that if overpricing is not an indicator of corruption, I think that's quite interesting. I think most Malawians find that interesting. So I'd like to know from the wisdom of the AG, what should Malawians consider as perhaps an early warning to corruption when we have seen so many assets being sold and bought at questionable prices, and especially when public funds are involved? Thank you very much, Chair. I'll stop with those 3 questions for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, AG. I'll give you space to respond to the 3 questions from Sizamuiwala. Take note, AG, that at some point the live beaming will go off because Parliament is still meeting, and on Wednesday, like today, Parliament doesn't sit in the morning. So the other members have been foregoing their time. And there is no any allowance attached to this meeting that other members have been and they are not intending to draw any allowance from anywhere because they have a duty to perform. So at a certain point, to go offline so that our TV can focus on the parliamentary proceedings. Traditionally, committees don't sit while Parliament is sitting, but it's not within the standing orders. But we've always respected the House because we sit as a committee on behalf of Parliament, and I sit as a chair on behalf of the Speaker. So once the Speaker is attending to the House, it is expected of us to go in the House. So this, it means we only have about 54 or 56 minutes before 2. So at 2, we'll be going into the House. So in the event that you've noted that others are leaving, especially the TV, it becomes a point. So give it to you to respond to Chilazulu Nyungwe, the 3 questions.
Chair, point of order.
Yes, what has gone out of order, Chikwa West?
Thank you very much, Chair. Looking at that, our inquiry has always been live on TV. Don't you think maybe we can make sure that we finish our questions? Maybe we give each other maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then while we finish the meeting, and then the cameras can go to Parliament. Because I'm looking at a situation whereby we're saying, let's conclude the matter without the cameras. It might look different. So maybe if you can control the time, that maybe the camera people can tell us how many minutes they will need to go and set the cameras. That means we can put our questions in so that we should be done by then, rather than saying let's continue even off mic. It might not maybe give off camera. It might not give a good picture out there. That's my suggestion. Looking at that, almost all members have already asked their questions, and the AG has already tackled those questions. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Chikwa West. But this will not be the first time since we started the inquiry to take that route. You may wish to be refreshed with the fact that when you were away, Reserve Bank and the Public Accounts Committee were having the same interface, and the TV requested that they leave at 12:30. We negotiated for 1 o'clock, but when they had left, we proceeded to engage Reserve Bank up until we exhausted all the relevant questions. So we had already said that, maybe you were not aware, but basically that's what happened when Reserve Bank was here, and we proceeded up until we concluded, because we don't want to rush through so that even the AG has to give his responses in a manner that is not gagged, but gets to attend to each and every question conclusively. So we already set the precedent. AG, kindly proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Honourable Member from Chilazulu Nyungwe. The issue of fund manager was raised as one of the issues that had to be attended to in the Reserve Bank report, if my memory serves me right. So I didn't have to be raising issues when Reserve Bank has raised and has actually advised on what to do to actually resolve that issue. So yes, in my wisdom, I knew about the policy, and in fact, Reserve Bank had raised it. So when I was saying attend to the issues, this is one of the issues. Thank you. Board members, I do recall there were about 7 people that came to my office, but I can't remember name by name. The only 2 people that I remember, because probably I knew them prior to this engagement, were Mr. Chizaso Nyirongo as chairperson, and also Mr. Boyd Hamira as acting officer. So those ones are the ones that I do remember. But again, if I invited the board members and they came in those numbers, I don't think there was any reason to think that you have to go look for other members who did not come. Overpricing, maize was overpriced just a while ago. Was that corruption? It wasn't. There are so many factors that go into prices. So it shouldn't be taken that the AG is saying that overpricing is not a sign of corruption. All I'm saying is that when something is being overpriced, you need to go and find out why it's being overpriced. You need to understand the environment in which that price was tagged and all. So when you look into all those issues, then you realize that when maize was going at 100,000, now it's going at, is it about 40,000 a bag? That wasn't corruption. It was just something else. So many factors. So all I'm saying is that when you look at a price and you say, it's too high, you've got to see what factors are at play without necessarily saying that. And then the other issue, if it comes to government contracts, those contracts are vetted at different levels. You have IPDCs, then you have the PPDA itself. They're competent to comment on prices. So I do believe that there are safeguards that deal with issues of overpricing without necessarily looking at it as corruption. There could be so many factors at play. But where there's evidence that overpricing was because of corruption, I'm sure it could be dealt with accordingly. Thank you.
Mulanje Southeast, over to you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I won't take a long time, and if you would indulge me, I just needed to have 3 or 4 minutes. Thank you, Chairperson.
Kindly proceed.
AG, in your presentation to this committee, you have indicated that the trustees of the fund have absolute powers, and you have referred to that on several occasions. Is that right? Did I get you right? That the trustees of the fund have absolute powers?
Chair, I see the absolute discretion because that's what the trustee gives them.
You said absolute discretion and not powers. So you were on record for having said absolute powers, and that was a mismention on your part?
Even if you were to interface those expressions, somewhere they might be one and the same thing, but I have specifically said absolute discretion because that's what the trustee says.
AG, have you seen the trust deed? And if you have you ever gone through it?
I have it with me here.
I would like to draw your attention to Article 14.2, A and B, and Article 14.4, B and C. If you'd be kind enough to read that out to the Honorable Committee, please, Honorable AG.
14 what?
14.2, A and B.
In discharging the powers under this article, the deed and the fund rules, the board shall have regard to A, directives, guidelines, rulings, information circulars, and policy statements issued by the registrar. B, government regulations, orders, and notices affecting pensions or tax on pensions.
Honorable AG, please proceed to 14.4 and specifically B and C.
The board shall not be subject in the exercise of any of their powers in relation to the fund to direction by any other person except to B, registrar's directive, C, a direction given the minister under financial services laws.
In your position as government advisor, what would be your interpretation of the two pieces of statute that we have just read out?
Chair, that just, in my view, is telling the trustees that even when they are exercising their absolute discretion on what investment to make, they will have to have regard to these issues and also be answerable to the Registrar of Financial Institutions. I did mention earlier on that this is a whole legal framework beyond even this trust deed. There's a whole legal framework that the Registrar of Financial Institutions uses in supervising these financial institutions. So to me, this was just a matter of recognizing that there's a whole legal framework that, like when you talk about directives, these directives are issued by the Registrar of Financial Institutions under certain laws that they use. Government regulations, obviously, once in a while, government to issue regulations or even enact certain laws regarding certain things. So there's no way you would expect that the trustees will act without regard to those laws. And I think that's more or less the spirit in 14.2 and 14.4.
To 19.0 and specifically 19.1.
Should I read? 19.0 is conflict of interest. 19.1, any trustee, advisor, or employee of the fund who is present at a meeting of the board or committee of the board at which any matter in which he has an interest is being considered shall disclose to the chairperson such interest as soon as practicable after the commencement of the meeting.
Honorable, were you aware that Mr. Chizaso was present in the meeting of the 6th March 2024, and that in that particular meeting he had purportedly been given powers to provide legal advice to the pension fund, and subsequently he was appointed chairperson of the fund? And if you are aware, did that not pose as a conflict of interest? And if it did, what was your advice when you were making your submissions? Secondly, were you aware that the acting principal officer was at a point a trustee, and he had subsequently been appointed to the position of acting principal officer, and a position that was normally supposed to be reserved for officers within the institution and not board members? What was your advice, having gone through the same? Thank you.
To begin with, Chair, I was not aware about the meeting of March until recently after the Law Society had presented, because in their document, which they presented here, as it circulated on social media, that's where, going through it, I found those minutes. So I have them through that. So there's no way I could have considered issues of conflict of interest, because that fact of these people having earlier served in certain capacities was not made available. But also to notice that if I was made aware at that time, I would have probably probed on whether they complied with 19.1, where they declare that I was once in this capacity, therefore I'm in this capacity. But I didn't go into that, because that factual issue was not made available to me at the time of giving the advice. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You may agree with me that even in today's deliberation, the former SPC has been reflected. AG, as a Public Accounts Committee, we had a meeting even last evening, and we have instructed our legal department to do the needful, because that's experts who anchor this committee when it comes to legal guidance. So they will be getting to other institutions to ensure that Parliament gets to have everyone. Like we've indicated, as Public Accounts Committee, we just have to do our part. And going forward, we're going to also get other individuals and Parliament to ensure that we are within our mandate and they help us to get to the bottom of this issue. Since every member has almost asked, honor members, maybe since we knocked off at around 12 midnight, but as of 8:30, you are here and you're supposed to proceed into the chamber. This is 19 after 1. I would like to propose that maybe we curtail, unless if there's a member who feels there's something that he wants to ask. Honor members, anyone? I see Lilongwe-Chirobwe. Lilongwe-Chirobwe, please. To Zomba City North. I think every day after the meeting, when the stakeholder is gone, we sit, discuss, and agree how we're going to proceed. And I don't want to be seen like a chair who imposed his opinion in how to handle these things. So, Lilongwe Chirobwe, I'd like to ask you to wait or hold. When we meet, then we agree as a committee on how we want to proceed. In that way, we will preserve the integrity of this committee and the integrity of Parliament. If I may guide that way, I think I'll have comfort in my soul to ensure that we are all pulling in the same direction so that we can land this inquiry as per the expectations of Malawians. There was a point of order from Zomba City North. Zomba City North, what has gone out of order?
Chair, it's exactly what you have ruled on. Therefore, I yield. But suffice to say that you had a proposition in mind. I wanted to second that you curtail the inquiry for now so that we proceed to have lunch and then we join plenary this 2 p.m. afternoon.
Thank you so much, Zomba City North, for yielding. And once again, let me thank you, honor members, for your resilience and remaining focused towards getting information. Attorney General, you may give your closing remarks because you've been sitting for some time. You were here, you arrived here somewhere around 8:30. And as a committee, we appreciate that you've been here up to now. So you may say your closing remarks. Over to you, Attorney General.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, honorable members. Perhaps let me just begin by making one comment on the issue of absolute discretion. I answered in view of how the questions came through, but I need to emphasize that in law, when you say somebody has got absolute discretion, it doesn't mean they must break the law. It doesn't mean they must not obey certain rules and regulations. They can decide on what they want to invest and at what price. But they have to be in check because they have to make sure that in what they're deciding on, which actually no other person can actually dictate to them that no, buy this or don't buy that. Yeah, that's the absolute nature of the discretion, but they still have to observe laws, regulations, and any other statutory requirements. So the absolute discretion that the trustees have did not mean they can break the law and be taken that they have absolute discretion. That's not what absolute discretion entails. It just tells you that you are within your powers to decide on certain things as long as it's not illegal. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, Honorable Vice Chair, Honorable members. I would like to end by saying, I think a lot was said. People thought I was avoiding this committee. And I think, Chair, at some point you burst into, some wonderland, but my office, with the busy nature and there's so many institutions that I attend to, I might find myself sometimes in a position where you're able to tell one institution to say, I'm not able to come, but I'll come later on. So that was the spirit in which I wrote to the Clerk of Parliament that I was not available because of other engagements. Otherwise, here I am, I have appeared before the committee, and I did, even in my letters, indicate that I'll be available. So the perception that people out there had, thinking that the Attorney General is avoiding the committee, is hopefully cleared. There's nothing to avoid this committee for. Most importantly, my office has that duty to attend to any issues that are of public concern in as far as matters of law are concerned, and certainly this committee is one of the committees that ought to be attended to, and that's why I came. And well, summons were issued, subpoena wasn't necessary because I had indicated I will come, and I have come, Chair. But nevertheless, just to put the record straight, that there was no need to think that the AG is avoiding this committee. It's my duty to come, and I hope that through my presentation and also the responses that I've provided to various questions that the honorable members put across, members of the public, and indeed this committee, would get clarity in some of the issues that were within my knowledge, or at least capacity to tackle on. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Attorney General, for availing yourself, like you've indicated. Members were just acting within the powers that they have, like I indicated earlier on, one of which being to summon or subpoena any person to attend and give evidence before a committee. So basically, we were just doing our role as members of parliament, providing oversight and representation. Where need be, we will proceed into legislation because in our view, as Public Accounts Committee, we've noted gaps in terms of how other things are being done, but that's for another day because those are going to be recommendations that are going to come from all members of parliament who are part of this Public Accounts Committee. The inquiry has unearthed so many things. So when we subpoenaed you, basically we were within our powers. Like Monday, you were supposed to appear, but the letter about your not appearing on that day came about around 9:15. And that stage, like in my case, I was going through something which was a family issue. My wife was in a theater at the same time. So there were a few things that were happening. So I had abandoned everything just to attend to this issue because I felt, in my view, it generated national interest. And a lot of talks were flying around that this committee had pocketed money. And I knew if I had taken off and I'm seeing maybe in Halali that time, people would have looked at this committee in a different way. But I had to take on the weight and be strong as a man while serving this nation. So that's why some of those things happened, and we had to be guided by our legal counsel as well as the legal department as a whole. So be at ease. I think the deliberations today have been cordial, and the involvement that everyone has been accorded to you in this chamber, in this parliament. And we're looking forward in the event that we want more information from you as a witness, not as an Attorney General, that you're going to give us. That's the nature of our job and how we're going to proceed so that in the end, we save the country much, much better, because it is a view out there, they are desperately looking forward to having their money protected We have doctors out there, we have nurses, we have a lot of civil servants, police officers who are focused on this thing. So when members of this committee become emotional, it's because they are being driven by the people in their constituencies who are looking forward to having the money in their old age protected. So AG, thank you so much for your coming. You may take leave at your pleasure. Thank you so much.
Welcome to MPUNGWE-PUNGWE YouTube channel. Subscribe for you to enjoy more of our videos anytime we upload.